So, for anyone who hasn't encountered your work yet, perhaps you could give us a little bit of a rundown. What is it that you've been doing for the last phase of your life?
Oh, I've been doing some pretty different things, should we say. I haven't followed the normal career path, despite being told I had to as a young child. So, the last 20 years I've been working in ski patrol rescue. Because I say ski patrol rescue, a lot of time people go ski patrol, you ski around and patrol. But a lot of it is medical evacuation. And ironically, I started the whole thing in Australia in 2003 in Thredbo. I learnt to become a patroller there, great training. And when I came back to France, or to Europe, I showed the French my certificates with the kangaroos, and the kangaroos actually on skis, and they were not impressed at all. They were like, this is not going to work. C'est pas bon ça. And I'm like going, oh, come on, you know. But as we know, the French are quite stoic, and they're like, okay, you can work here if you just do our qualifications. So I did it. The gauntlet was kind of put forward, and I said, okay, let's raise this challenge, and I got on with it basically. So that's where I kind of slid into patrol in France. Not slid in, it was a tough path. Probably sliding is not the word. Did my first level in Andorra in Spanish. Luckily I did my degree in German and Spanish at London, and then I ended up doing my second level in Chamonix. In France, all our ski instructors and ski patrollers, second level ski patrollers and third level have to go through the Alpine school. So we have about 3 weeks training there. And I came out with that, and I just did a few other bits and pieces on the side which helped me become more in depth in my profession. So as I was just having chat about with controlled bombing, so I spent 10 days in Alpe d'Huez learning to blow up rock in a quarry, and then snow after that. You got your certificate to go and blow up rock in a quarry, and then you go on to snow. And then after that was really for me the most incredible training and challenge of my life was working with Avalanche dogs. So Fjord and I, my Avalanche dog, we went to Les Deux Alpes, and we spent around about 2.5 weeks training, and came out very proudly together with a national diploma, our French national diploma. So that's where a lot of my focus was after on Avalanche rescue, Avalanche training, working in really high pressure environments where it is a lot of the time life and death. So that's me in a nutshell.
That is fascinating. I love discovering these worlds within worlds, and I would never have thought that bombs were involved in the snow. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that. You know, why do you need to bomb and to prevent an avalanche?
Yeah. So bombing is a way to reduce snow accumulations. So a resort has something called the PIDA, which is the Prévention excuse me, I have to re-go on that. Plan d'intervention de déclenchement des avalanches. So basically, it's a massive plan. It's a program which is set out by the resort, where specific areas are sensitive areas where there can be an avalanche, and patrol get up rather early in the morning, and we go at 6 o'clock in the morning. It just depends on the resort and the time of the season, and we'll go and to specific areas set off charges which will explode and make the snow come down, therefore taking the pressure off snow accumulations which won't go onto the slopes. Because once the resort is open, we need to turn around and go, the risk in that resort is reduced to the point we can control it. And the last thing you want is an avalanche rolling onto a green slope or blue slope, even a red slope.
Yeah.
And putting people at danger, even, potentially killing them. So the bombing is, you go in pairs. So you get you know where you're going to go, and you get a couple of areas you're going to go and bomb. So you go as a pair. And there's always one looking after the other one. When you set the charge off, you got to make sure you open your mouth. So you're chewing gum or something.
Yeah.
Because of the shock. Obviously, you send off the bomb. You chuck it for when you're manual bombing, and then you make sure your mouth's open because of the shock. You potentially can have ears, obviously, all this area here. There's lots of different systems in place. The kind of old dynamite with the detonator in, and there's the ones that's released now with a box which is set off by an electrical cable. And then there's even ones in the night we will set off the peace bashers will set off through automatic. They're like big metal tubes called Gazex, so it's a mix of propane and oxygen, and the automatic control will set off a spark, and then that will cause an explosion. So those will work. So if you're coming out of a nightclub, say, for example, at 2, 3 in the morning, and you hear a boom, it's not a patroller up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, because generally we're asleep at that time. But it will be these big cannons which are setting off. They're a bit like a cannon, the old kind of war cannons. Yeah. And ironically, in the States, some of the resorts still do have cannons, and they do still use them for. I can't remember the resort. It's just. It's. I think it's cool. It's really radical, but it's just like they fire off, because we also have another type, which again is a bit like a cannonball, and you have to position it and get the pressure right, and it sends off It's quite technical.
Wow. So you're up there, and it's dark, and How do you navigate your way around?
It can be dark, when we're going up there. So generally, we'll be taken up by one of the peace bashers, one of the groomers.
Okay.
Is the which grooms the slope. Mm-hmm. So they'll be working all through night from 5 o'clock when the slopes will shut. They go on to groom the slopes, make them nice and smooth for everyone to ski the next day. And then in the morning they'll still be on shift. There'll probably be 2 shifts, and then they will be taking us up to an area where we'll collect, because the dynamite and the charges are all kept in a secure area. Under lock and key for obvious reasons, and they'll take us to that area. We'll have prepared the day before, and then we will go off with our backpacks and do what we need to do. And as I say, it seems very random to a lot of people, and it's not. It's you're given a plan. You go in one area, and then there'll be another area you potentially go out of, depending on the terrain. So you reduce your risk of hurting yourself. I mean, there are accidents I'd say every year, but there have been some pretty brutal ones. Like there was a couple who died. And they were actually a couple. So after that, they changed the protocol for managing the risk with this situation. They said no longer were you allowed to do any controlled bonding with a partner, a husband, wife, whatever, because you could be leaving children, or even then now the protocol's changed. And then we had our poor guy who lost his legs. He put the charge between his legs. Oh, no. And that went. Sometimes you do get faulty detonators, so there is a risk. Yeah. It's definitely something that you don't think about. There's so much going on behind the scenes when people come to a ski resort. They think, just the slopes are just always like this. It's just perfect. They don't realize everything that goes on. What was it like being a woman in this environment? Yes, thank you for asking. Brad, it's actually a very interesting question. Difficult. I'd say it challenging. If it was North America, Canada, or the States, it would have been easier. But the French are still. I mean, I don't really know much about Switzerland as such, but it's still very male-led. So I think we're about 10% in ski patrol. We call us a piste secouriste. So piste means pisting, and then secouriste means the first aider. And I think really what was not particularly on my side was being British. It's like, what's the British woman doing here? She's got no mountains. And, I was British, and I was left-handed. So British left-handed, a witch. So yeah, no, it was very challenging. But I think, you know, I mean, for example, I've the last couple of years I've gone in to give holiday cover because I preferred not to go back for the full season. And every time I've gone into a resort, they've loved me to bits because I've got that kind of sense of humour, that fun side which the Anglo-Saxon have. So there's other areas, you know, I'm not bilingual. I'm fluent in French, but I'm not, you know, I don't speak like a French person. So there's pluses and minuses, but you have to, it takes time, and it probably takes longer to kind of get accepted by certain males, but I think that's more of an age thing as opposed to a male gender. Because I think the younger generation will accept, whereas the ones where there were no women involved with patrol, you know, say 30 years ago, they'll find that difficult.
Yeah.
They'll find that difficult.
Absolutely. How interesting. And you mentioned the canine aspect of it. Tell us more about how you worked with these incredible animals.
So, Fjord, my flat-coated retriever, I was paired up with a dog. Okay, this is the dog handling team, the fire and rescue unit, mountain rescue unit. They said, okay, we think you would be good with a flat-coat retriever. No idea what that means about me. Whether it's my hair or because I've got ears, I don't know. It's just like, what do they mean? When all these guys have got these big furry kind of German Shepherds and Malinois and Belgian Shepherds, and I'm going, and I've got a flat-coated retriever, and they lollop along. But having said that, they're the most beautiful dogs in the world. They've got they call them the Peter Pan dogs, so they never grow up. So they're always kind of wanting to play constantly. So they actually make a very, very good working dog. They're a little bit heavy to carry because we need to carry our dogs on slopes sometimes. We need to pick them up. So putting Fjord 36 kilos on my shoulders, I'd literally have to put him on top of my backpack and ski with him so I wouldn't potentially hurt his legs if he was routine or skiing near me. You can cut their legs quite badly and you can cut their tendons, and that's it. They end up being retired very quickly. So it's a very, very beautiful path of cohesion and fusion and a big learning curve, especially it was my first dog in that sense. Dogs read stuff which we don't even know about. I mean, I'll give you an example. The last 2 weeks I had COVID. Horrible word. And I've had my other flat coat, she's female. I can't, that's another thing I'll mention after, but she used to come up and you could tell she was smelling my mouth because that smell, I mean, there's medical detection dogs, so she knew something was not quite right, and she's been very much more with me. So we transfer everything we're feeling onto our dogs as well. So Avalanche rescue is tricky in that sense because you can't go into a terrain where there's been an avalanche and you've got people underneath and you know you've got to find them and you can't feel that fear, or you need to try and always take a deep breath before you go in, observe, and then not place your emotions and your chemical reactions onto your dog, because your dog will then potentially go into protection mode, so it won't work. It'll be worried about his master.
Right.
And it potentially will not be as focused, or it will be, you could tell it could be anxious, or it's very complex. But that's why it makes it so beautiful. And the more I saw in the old school kind of dog handling world of people trying to dominate their dogs, it just didn't work. Their dogs ended up not working very well. They used to get frustrated, the dog handlers shouting at their dogs. The dogs used to cower. So we're a team at the end of the day. I couldn't work without Fjord, and Fjord couldn't work without me. There are some dogs who potentially will go off and search, but they need to be guided. Another little thing which I was about to mention, I thought I'd carry on talking about what the subject we were talking about, is like up until recently, there were no female dogs allowed in France for Avalanche rescue. It was you did ask about the male element, male-led element. There was an avalanche which went wrong in the sense that the male dogs didn't function and work as they should have been, and there was a female working that same avalanche. So of course we make a conclusion that it was the female's fault. Putting the males off their work. Sacre bleu. So the female distraction was removed, so to speak. Having said that, in Switzerland, Sweden, Norway, Italy, they work females and males. In the US as well, and the Canada. So it's something, but having said that, since this year, they have been allowed back in.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. I can report back on that in a year's time.
So, a flathead retriever, is it similar to a golden flat coat retriever?
Yeah, flat-coated retriever, very similar to a golden.
Ah.
They're the same family, and they've just got a very long nose.
Okay.
They look a bit like a setter, black. You have them black in liver or brown. They're a lot more long, and they are generally a lot kind of more elegant, more kind of thin in their build.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they live with you? So you actually just spend all of your time with them?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not like some obviously services like the police. They can have their dogs. Their dogs are going to be in kennels, but no, they live with us constantly. And then again, the way you look at things, for example, I used to go and train occasionally with the rescue units in England, and they'd have their dogs in crates with beautiful blankets, and go to Sweden, same thing. The dogs would be lying on reindeer skins. They look really comfy. And I used to go, your dogs look really comfy. And I used to go to my boss in France, like, well, he's like, no, because you shouldn't be having a cover in your dog kennel. I was like, well, why not? It's like, because he needs to be a working dog. It's like, this is very, for me, old school. It's like, so you're saying that you need to go and work out really, really hard training, or even, in a real life situation, and then you have to come back to a cold bed, lie in that cold bed, and not have any comfort. I don't really think it's a bit like the whole companies who look after their staff, who give them a nap, or give them, they've got a gym, or they've got flexi time, or it's proven, that people work better when they're treated and they're given comforts. So that doesn't go with me, especially because I'm a great believer that the Scandinavians are not the king and queens of the world, but they've been dealing with snow, and they've been working in that area for years. I mean, skiing was first, they say. I mean, obviously there's the Norwegians where skiing kind of started from. Obviously there was skis before that, but watching the Scandinavians keeping their dogs warm, I was like, I think I need to take that back to France, but obviously I can't do that because the French, what would the British girl know? So yeah.
So interesting that people even pay attention to like how you're handling and what you're doing, and that's.
I was told I was too soft with my dog. I was told I was too soft, and they were like, "Oh yeah, because you're too British," and I'm like is my dog working well? Yes, but it's a good dog. I was just like, oh god,
it's got nothing to do with...
Either way, I can't win on this. So let's say my dog's a good dog. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. I've heard you talk about ego being the catalyst for disaster, or how it can be. Can you unpack that concept?
So I'm a great believer. I mean, this is more from a point of view for going out into the mountains. Ego, as in like an ego, I know best. And you've got a group, for example, I mean, this is from ski touring point of view. You go in and someone turns around and goes, something's not quite right here. And if they're so overpowered what their belief is correct, they will pull everyone in and they will make a mistake. It's the same with... I'll give you another example. In a resort where we had an avalanche, my resort where I was working, and I was told to go in and only work my dog and not take myself in there. And it was not by my dog boss, it was by the head of patrol. He was like, you mustn't go in there, but you must send your dog in there. And he was trying to show to everyone he was in control of the situation. And I said, I'm sorry, but I'm not. If it's too dangerous for my dog to go in there, it's too dangerous for me. So it's always pushing. The ego will always push to the point where there can be a mistake made. It's not always a mistake. And I just think that sometimes being humble, especially in wilderness areas, is going to be your safety blanket at the end of the day. And a lot of time with ego, there's nothing I could do about it. I just had to go with it. I just was like, okay, he's acting in that way, or she's acting in that way, because also there can be a few females in the area where they're going to have to be a lot more... maybe feisty, and they're very protective and over their terrain because there's very few women there. And it's just from my experience where there has been someone who's been functioning on ego where I've seen situations degrading quite quickly.
Yeah.
And that's when I I mean, a couple of times I've said no to people and walked away, even in a mountain environment where there was signs for me in the snow. There was a whoomph sound, which basically means a wheat clear's breaking. And I said to the group I was with, I'm sorry, but I'm going down. I'm not staying here, because that for me is a massive danger sign. Oh, no, we carry on. So I went one more turn up the hill, and it went whoomph again. I was just like, okay, right, this is nature, or whatever it is nature saying to me. I'm releasing what I need to release, so to speak. And very quickly, people started to go, okay. And then they go, okay, Caroline is a piste secouriste, so she is, spending all her hours in snow for 4 months of the year. Well, let's go back down to the refuge, play cards and drink a beer.
Yeah. So that intuition is pretty important. I mean, because, people sometimes say, should you trust your intuition or not? But it kind of forms through just time and in those environments.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the intuitional gut instinct, as we call it. So I was recently talking to someone about, our neuralistic linguistic programming, and how, I mean, they do say the stomach is your second brain.
Yeah.
So when things start to kind of tell you something, is that a mix of your past experience, your maybe even your trauma or whatever, or is it learnt practice? But for me, I don't care what I do go on my gut, because I trust my gut. And I mean, again, when you meet people, or even with dogs, the dog was, I mean, when a dog would come up and show me behaviour, something would not be right. And there's obviously communication going on between me and that dog, which, it's not about words, is it? And it's potentially a bit of body language, but there's chemical exchanges going on. So your gut instinct is so what are we saying? That's best friend, primordial. So primitive, it's reptilian, that, it's there for a reason. It's there for us to go, get out of here.
Yeah.
And when people don't, I mean, we had a case this year, January, in the Alps. Everything was signed up being really, really dangerous. 4 out of 5 avalanche risk. And what do people do? They go off piste. No transceivers, so no avalanche beacons on them. And cut long story short, it's avalanched, and they have to bring in the dogs from another resort in and to locate their bodies.
Oh, really?
I mean, they located them because generally a dog will indicate on live human scent. It's not going to indicate on cadavers, but when a body's been in there not that long, it will still give off a scent. And it takes, I'll give you an example for snow. When you've got a metre of snow above you, when you're lying, when you've got a metre of snow on top of you, it'll take about 20 to 30 minutes for your smell to reach the surface. That's dependent on the snow. So dry snow, which you're going to get continental snow, like for example, Utah in the States, it's very dry powder, champagne powder. That's in theory going to be quicker it's got lots of air in it, so the smell's going to go up. Get to wet Pyrenean snow, for example, that's a nightmare. I mean, we went to an avalanche, we pulled out a whole family. The little girl stayed under over 2 hours.
Wow.
And that was in Pyrenean snow, and they all came out alive.
Really?
Yeah. And the dogs indicate, and the indication on wet snow might be different to fresh snow, because it will filtrate further down with the gradient of the slope. So the dog will indicate maybe a metre below or 2 metres below, so it'll start scratching. And you go immediately, the person's there. It's like, no, they potentially are, because it's drained down, they're higher up.
Yeah, right.
So again, it's kind of, with your knowledge and your background, you'll understand what you need to do at that point. But yeah. So
if someone is going into that kind of environment, any tips? If it happens to you and you end up caught in an avalanche and you're under the snow, well, what should you do and what should you not do?
The old school used to say you had to spit and urinate.
Oh, really?
Do not advise anyone to go and do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a very tricky one. Very tricky. It's. They say a lot of you got a very high chance if you're 1 metre in the 1 metre, kind of the higher part of the avalanche. If you are a lot further down, it does turn to concrete. I've never been in an avalanche apart from up to my waist. So I've been in snow holes, but I do know someone who is a good friend who I talked to about it. He was ex-military. He got caught. He was out with someone who was skiing, and they said they knew how to use an avalanche transceiver, and it so happens they didn't. So when he got caught, my friend, he was under, and unfortunately, when you work in this profession, you know all the stats. So you know normally you've got 15 minutes to get out with a good chance of survival. So you know very quickly your time starts running down, and you've got the potential of you not so much a lack of oxygen, it's carbon dioxide poisoning. So you know all this. So the natural reaction for the human body is to panic.
Yeah.
But what this person did, he said, what I did was I knew I had to remain calm, so I wouldn't be trying to, make my breathing more rapid. And I just basically started tensing my muscles and releasing them, so I kept warm. I don't know how long now, I can't remember how long he was under, but that's what he did. He tried to figure out where he was, because once you're in the snow, you actually don't know if you're up or down. That's why the whole thing's spit or urinate. So if you are, I mean, I would never, I'm kind of go to the other extreme, because obviously my work is risk management. So even on a day when it's a low avalanche risk, say for a low risk would be a 2. If I'm going to go off-piste, I'll wear a transceiver.
Yeah.
So, and these only cost, they cost a lot less than a GoPro. So as I say to everyone, a GoPro will film your mistakes. Yeah. And we had a case of that, a kid who got caught. His dad took him off an area. Whole thing, tracks were visible. Everyone had been down there prior. And took his 14-year-old off, and the 14-year-old set off an avalanche. It was 2 meters in depth. The actual crack, the departure, breakage, fracture, and his GoPro filmed everything. He had no transceiver on him. So if I'd say to anyone coming up to Christmas or whatever, you're going to go off-piste skiing, or even if you're going to dip in and dip out, buy one. They cost 200, 300 euros. And that will help you, give off a signal. It's not saying wear one and you're safe. That's not the case at all. But at least it will give, a chance for the person who's skiing with you, or the team, the rescue team who come in to find you. Yeah. Within a quicker time limit, because if you're imagining it takes 30 minutes for your smell to reach the top, you've got 2 meters of snow on you, you got an hour before your smell's actually going to reach the top for the dogs to indicate. So, and we've got obviously probes, and it's very, very in depth. And I could talk about it for hours, but my message to everyone, because I'm massively into snow safety education and prevention, is just really have a think about it, because also once you do that, you put loads of other people at risk, even the rescue services. So, and it's, there's so much education out there now to help people. Yeah, there's no need to take those kinds of risks. We've got the technology now, so why not just use it? And is it universal? If someone has that on them, there's a device, a sensor that you can see a little dot on a map or something, or just guides you closer? It's not it's actually two. You've got 2 transceivers. So you've got a transceiver which you go on to transmit, and then to send. Or transmit, and then you put it onto to search mode after.
Got it.
So, and they are so you have like 5-6 different models. Ultravox, Mammut, like 2 ones I work with, and then the different brand is obviously not going to go, no, I can't find the Ultravox one. They do. Yeah. They work interchangeable. They need to be revised every couple of years. They're now rechargeable ones, and there's ones which use batteries, and batteries need to be taken. There's a whole, there's just very kind of simple things to do, and you can practice them with them in your garden. You don't need to wait till the snows. You can hide it behind a bush, get someone to hide it. And I'd say to anyone doing that sort of thing, if you don't have the muscle memory, which we learn in rescue, because we're constantly repeating our skills, we're practicing, we're preparing for, an avalanche, and maybe only have 1 call out, 2 call outs a season sometimes, because if the season's not, we're not in that position when an avalanche goes off, but we're preparing all the time. So when we do go in, we're not going, oh God, how does it work? It's pretty unfortunate for the people underneath. So it just becomes a natural reaction when you arrive, because the stress, when you arrive in a situation like that, some people won't even know how to turn something on, because they're so... under incredible amount of, of shock, seeing their loved one go down. So, yeah.
So what does the practice look like? Because obviously you need to become familiar with all aspects of a rescue before that moment when it happens. And in the corporate world, people are constantly under pressure, yet they are never taught, or they hardly ever have drills to see how would we react. So how important is that repetition, and how do you do it? What are some of the skills that you think might be transferable to other environments?
So I say preparation is key. So for example, if you're installing a new software or a new program, the people who actually will be using that program, they need to have time to actually consolidate.
Yeah.
So I was saying preparation, and some people, for example, I'm horrific, like aerobics. You won't see me. I'm great at dancing, but I can't coordinate. So it takes me a long time to assimilate certain actions. So you might have 10 people in a room, and you're given all the software, they're given the training, an hour, 2 hours. And there might be 2 out or 3 out of these people who will find it difficult. So it's always adapting to that group of people you're dealing with, and again reinforcing the positive sides. The ones who've taken that piece of software can use it. Okay, that's great. But then the other person who's not finding it easy to implicate, they need more time to consolidate. So that would be, for example, there. But also communication. If you're not communicating, for example, again in France, we have a big thing with, if you don't know how to do it, you don't admit to it.
Yeah.
So don't show that you're failing or you're. And there's quite a few cultures like that, actually.
Yeah, there are.
So it's actually to also teach to guide a team to actually realise that there's no negative connotation attached to asking for something, as in like, I don't understand, or can you give me extra help? And communication, I say, in the high pressure environments, if you don't communicate what you need and your needs very quickly, you can spend hours and time to actually get to your result. And if at that point you're putting yourself under pressure, you go, I can't ask, and you then become more stressed, your mental health, your physical health will start going downhill.
Yeah.
So big time in avalanche rescue. That's why I say I love to bring people to the snow, and I'll talk about that, is the fact that if you don't know how, as you say, to react under pressure and communicate under pressure and check in with everyone, your team is not going to function as a whole, is not going to be cohesive. So that project is going to get to the end, and you're going to meet that deadline, but you're going to have, someone off with burnout, someone off potentially starting to get depression, someone who's then suddenly become, a heavy drinker, someone's gone to drugs. We had a similar situation when we come out of our rescue situations. We have to check in on everyone. Even if it's a successful operation, even if you pass and you meet a deadline, maybe a couple of days later you need to turn around and go, how are we all doing? And actually make it as a conversation where people can turn around and go, well, you know what, I'm not sleeping, or I'm not, I don't know, I have difficulty eating, or I find I've been going down the pub a bit more, and that should be a conversation where everyone should be able to have, and it's an open conversation, not to be criticised in any shape or form, not to be, well, that's not right, with open arms, and then, well, we're here for you. It's about building that community within that team. And as I said before about the whole dog thing, if you're expecting people to just kind of get through and struggle through a project or through to a deadline because you've got to keep face about not asking for help, that result's not going to be a reward at the end of the day. So the same with the dog, you've got to treat your team well. They've got to have a rest time, they've got to have so for me it's a big well-being, psychological safety of the team. So it's repetition, as I say, it's preparing, repetition, clarity, and you know what you want to say, communicating. Again, it's not just about words, as we all know, and it's about cohesion and making that cohesion work, which, and as I say,
And I suppose the leader needs to express that vulnerability, because if the leader's like, I'm perfect and I'm strong and let's do a quick check-in, everyone else is going to mirror the leader and go, yeah, everything's good.
Of course they are.
So you have to create that environment of psychological safety where you go, hey, I do you think it's the the leadership imperative, or is it that the team just has that culture of let's check in and just be honest, because you need that honesty, otherwise you don't actually know how people are doing. Although I guess because you're working in high pressure environments like a Navy SEAL, they tend to be quite connected in that way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's kind of, it comes with the terrain, so to speak, that after we've had an avalanche, for example, we'll go back and debrief.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm not convinced that we're very advanced in the experience I've had here with turning around and going, oh, I'm not feeling too good. Because if you turn around and say, oh, I'm not too feeling too good, oh, it's like, oh, you're showing you're weak. And that still is very much like that. And, you know, sometimes I would turn around and say, no, I don't want to do that. Because, for example, I'll give you another example. Working as a team, some nights I'd turn my phone off because I knew I had to sleep. Because if I wasn't sleeping, I wouldn't be able to go to work and I wouldn't be able to go and do certain things. And I used to have because I was bullied, I used to have the comment from my boss, my dog handling boss, yes, that's not a team spirit to turn your phone off just in case there's a call out and you're not available. I said, well, I'm not available because I'm not on my beeper. I've not taken my 24-hour alert. And I actually deem myself not to be well, or not well enough, but I deem myself needing that rest. I deem myself needing my time to be able to work as a functioning team member. But he just didn't understand that. And as a result, there's been a lot of turnover.
Yes,
There's, I was pushed out when I had to return to the UK because my mum looked after my mum who's got Alzheimer's. And then after that, someone else was bullied and pushed out. And the team turnover has been massive because people just get to the point and they go, enough's enough, and they go.
Yeah.
Because it starts really affecting your mental and then your physical health goes downhill. So, yeah.
How do you deal with bullying in those types of environments?
I, being my feisty self, I would turn around and say no. And then I would turn my phone off. As in, like, I wouldn't respond to messages because I was being hassled. And now I actually have to deal with it still to this day from that person. For example, I've had things come up on LinkedIn with words. So I've had to block this person and report it. Yeah, no. He's it's a person who doesn't like the fact that I think that I'm, very qualified in what I did or do, and being a woman. And I think he actually found me quite threatening.
Yeah, that's usually the case.
And that's, I think I made him feel vulnerable, and because I turned around and questioned his leadership, instead of asking himself questions about his own leadership, he took that as a personal dig, which it probably wasn't even personal. It's a case of he was doing stuff which, wasn't positive for anyone, let alone the dogs. I mean, all his dogs had anxiety and they were nervous wrecks. So that kind of explains what we're dealing with. But bullying, that's how I dealt with it. I don't know whether it was a good way to deal with it. And then I'd actually have my close friends within the fire and rescue unit. I'd chat to them about it. Yeah. But the sad thing about the whole thing is, even when it was reported, the unit never took it seriously, and still to this day, it's never been dealt with. So, and I think that's wrong, especially in the environment we live now. I think multinational companies, they've got to be on or any company needs to be on the lookout. Yeah. Leadership. As leadership, I don't see a leadership, someone kind of saluting like they do in the fire and rescue unit, because it's still quite military. For me, a leader is someone who guides and looks after his team, and they can have a very soft voice. Yeah. Or she have a soft voice. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a battle axe to get results. In fact, I think you get worse reactions from people who treat people that way.
Mm-hmm. I think that the best leaders often let people think that they achieved the goal. They stand at the back and just and guide and mentor. And in fact, more and more companies are choosing to have a culture of coaching rather than managers.
Yeah. No, well, 100%. And as I say, that's why with this kind of avalanche kind of rescue mindset, there's not one person. There is one person. It's called the COS. So it's a chief of operations. Mm-hmm. But generally, you have to work as a team. There's not one person who's leading. So, and that's why it's so good. There's not one person going, go there, go there, go there.
Yes.
You have to work and communicate and adapt and and to actually get the result.
So there's a kind of fluid, dynamic leadership based on who's closest to the action, who's got the most information. I love that. And that's so what we need in the world is more of that kind of agile leadership, because it does require a lot of trust between people and that clear communication that you mentioned earlier.
And emotional intelligence, I'd say too.
Yes.
And where there's no ego involved, because at the end of the day, we don't have space for egos. We just need to pull out people who are under snow.
Yeah.
And if you start fluffing your feathers up and trying to act, you're wasting time. But yeah, so that's from my personal experience.
Absolutely. So tell us about your children's book.
Yes, as they call it, my bébé, as we say in French. Fjord, well, how do you put it? Got bored when he came back to the UK. I said I was caring for Mum through before the pandemic actually, but and he got bored. So what did Fjord do? He ate socks. So Fjord ate socks, and he actually ended up killing himself by eating socks. So he collapsed, bless him. Yeah, he collapsed just after his last incredible avalanche training in the Pyrenees. He did the best avalanche training, and next thing I know, I had to get back to the UK. I got a phone call from the vet saying, the operation was a success. What do you want doing with your dog's body? Do you want it cremated?
What?
In one sentence.
What a shock.
I was just like, you are definitely a friend of my dog boss.
Yeah.
Because exactly the same kind of harsh.
Whoa.
And it was that moment in my life, because it was just before my birthday. It was the 7th of Feb. My birthday's on the 8th of Feb. And it was at that moment my world collapsed. I was in the UK. I just collapsed on the table. I literally remember the moment to this day. So the book came about due to that. It's just like, I've got to bring Fjord back to life, in the sense that I've got to use his, because we used to do snow education classes with the dog, and he was always so funny with the children. And I was just like, I'm only seeing probably about 150 children or 200 children a season. It'd be great if we could get this book out further afield, and make sure children can see what Fjord does and learn about the mountains. So I found an illustrator, and during COVID, the book was born little by little. And it's Fjord who talks all the way through the book. And it's a bit like Olga the guinea pig. I used to have a book as a kid called Olga the guinea pig. So it's not a guinea pig this time. Got no rescue guinea pigs in the world. So it's Fjord the flat-coated retriever, and it's called Fjord's Mountain Mission. And it's translated into French, German and Spanish. And it's ready to go in Italian and Spanish and Dutch. But I just need to find some form of sponsorship to help me get the book out. So it's quite, I've self-published, so it's quite full-on. So yeah, it's my baby, as I call it. I'd love to get it animated one day. I think it'd make a beautiful animation. Yeah. With this big black floppy dog bouncing around the place. Yeah. So yeah, no, he lives on in the book very much so. Beautiful, beautiful soul. And now I have Kayla, my French dog, who can't do avalanches. Well, she can do now, but now she's too old. You've got to be, you can't be anything older than 4 years old. So she does bed bug detection. So she's a bed bug dog.
No way. So. Really?
I'm very diverse in what I do. I wanted my dog to work.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm so used to working with dogs.
Yes.
And I was just like, what can she do? She's not allowed to do avalanches when she was a pup. And I was just like, well, I can't go and get a load of drugs, because in France you can't do the drug thing unless you're the customs division. And you can't go and do explosives unless you're police. So in England, it's actually a lot easier to access due to different training schools. I was like, what's left? Bed bugs. Not very romantic.
It's an important one. I mean,
yeah. So I taught her. She loves bed bugs. So every time I bring out the little kind of freezer bag with my bed bugs in it in tubes, she gets all mega excited. In fact, they're at the moment in hibernation down in my dad's. What do you call it? We used to call it a carve, like the cellar. Sorry.
Yeah,
cellar.
right.
So yeah, they're sleeping at the moment, and I'll bring them out probably this weekend. And
then you take her to hotels or bed and breakfast?
Well, I wait. Yeah, I haven't done it much of it actually. Yeah. It was just kind of a thing I did. But yeah, in theory, I can go to a hotel, and if someone calls me, I can go. And generally, the hotels generally are okay. It's more kind of hostels, or in fact, the big one is actually mountain refuges. So there's the amount of people who come through on a regular basis.
Yes, of course.
And other kind of areas. So yeah. So
I know.
Yeah.
I know a hotel in where is it? It's in Belgium, and your dog needs to go there and it's a really nice hotel. It was terrible. I ended up with these bed bug bites from a really nice hotel in Belgium. Anyway, that's so
and the
cool.
problem is, the thing is, just a quick one.
Yeah.
You go in these hotels and then you come out and you're bitten and you tell them, and then the next day they go, oh, well, the next 2 people weren't bitten, the 2 nights following. It's just like, well, the reason simply is because the bed bug has had everything she needs, has gone to sleep, and then she'll reappear in 2-3 days.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's not there just constantly feeding.
No.
It's and I react really badly to these things. Even mosquito bites, I get like a big, So it was definitely them, and it was just exactly where I slept with like my back exposed to the sheets. It was horrible.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Generally it's all up head and down there, and around there, because they're set off by carbon dioxide.
Actually, it was on my face. It got me on my neck and face. Yeah, I was like, what is going on?
Carbon dioxide.
Wow.
They love carbon dioxide. There you go.
That's what. And one last question: why 4 years old? Why can't they go beyond that on the slopes?
Because the training school deems that after 4, they either their behaviour, I think, would have not the capacity to be trained. They might have old habits, big habits, and an Avalanche dog's life is up to the age of 8, 9. So that's you've got half the So generally they push them through around about 1.5 years, 2.
Okay.
So it's just a ruling they've done. I think it just kind of, you invest a lot of time and money, investment of time more than anything, and for a dog to go in at the age of 4 and doesn't do well, I think it's just kind of reducing the quantity of failed dogs, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
And what's exciting you about the future? What's the next moves?
Well, I'm delighted to go back to the snow for this winter, just to kind of say my goodbyes. I say goodbye to the mountain. It's my last full season. As I say, I've decided to close the doors on ski patrolling and focus now on education consultancy, and also in the motion at the moment is the Avalanche simulation camps. So I'm speaking to various resorts in the Alps, setting these up for first couple of weeks in January, not this season, it'll be the season after, and in March for 2 weeks. So these will be 2-3 day camps where people go in, they will do team building, but in a very different way. We'll have some cold water dipping, we'll have night navigation, lots of different ideas, a little bit more, out of your comfort zone. You're going to feel cold, you're going to feel, So it's something I love being pushed, and I think a lot of people would get the same kind of the gain from it as well. Even if they don't like snow, you don't have to ski, so it'll be snowshoes. So I'm kind of in a very creative mode at the moment. So as I say, back this winter, creation for the months to come, and keynote. So I'd go into companies and provide my keynote, the Avalanche Advantage. So again, how to make high performing teams out of high pressure environments.
Nice. And if anyone wants to connect with you, find your book, where would you like them to go?
You can go, and you can either go to my website. So it's quite easy to find me. It's Caroline Elliott, 2 L's and 2 D's, .me. I'm on LinkedIn. So again, Caroline Elliott. Educational side for the book, if you go and look in that website, which we all know, thinking with an A, it's the easiest way to find. Type in Fjord's Mountain Mission, and it gives you the option. As I say, it's in German, French and Swedish and English. So, and any questions about these Avalanche camps, or any questions about coming in to give a keynote, I do travel. I love travelling, so I can leave France. There's no issues there. And I'm always up to adapting a talk to the audience. So
yes. Excellent.
I'm used to adapting. Adapting is actually my big A word in my work.
Yeah. So. Nice.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts for those who stuck with us all the way till now?
Just the only thing I would say is when you go into the mountains, have that rescue mindset. Do take in consideration that you're not alone. And if you do go into areas which are deemed as risky, what ski patrol is saying or the weather forecast is saying, respect that advice, because at the end of the day, you're going to put others at risk, not just yourself. And there's rescue teams, and we work really, really hard to prevent risk from occurring. But when you go against the advice, it's there for your safety. And just go out and enjoy the mountains and nature, and it's a beautiful place to be. It's a great place to resource. I love the mountains. I love snow. So yeah.
There you go. Thank you so much, Caroline. And
you're welcome.
Thank you all for joining. We'll see you in the next session. Thanks, Caroline.